How's it going, everyone? The PlayStation Store's gargantuan sales are about to come to an end with the indie sale as well as the games under $20 sale. In this video, I'm going to be going over the indie sale and we'll be looking at games under $5. We already took a look at the games under $20 sale and the games under $5 from that sale. So let's get right into it. 13 games to go over, so I won't keep you guys for too long. First up, we have Little Nightmares, which is 75% off for $4.99. I've talked about this game quite a bit. It is a fantastic puzzle platform horror game. Really does get the horror elements right, and I've always felt like that's a little bit harder to do in a game that's stylized like this, but they did a good job with it. Puzzles are pretty well done as well, and I'm not a big puzzle guy, but this is overall a pretty solid game. Little Nightmares 2 is excellent as well, and I usually recommend that game when it does go on sale. That's a more recent release, and it still goes for a premiere price of like, its MSRP, I believe, is $30, so it's not that crazy, but, yeah, you get the idea. There is also the Little Nightmares Complete Edition, which is 70% off for $8.99, so you can check that out if you're interested. Next up, we have Oddworld New and Tasty, 75% off for $4.99. Now, Oddworld Soulstorm just came out. That was a little bit of a mixed bag, but it was available as a PlayStation Plus title for PS5 owners, so it wasn't that big of a deal. This one, Oddworld New and Tasty, is a pretty good title. It doesn't show its age all too much because this was released in 2014, and as an adventure platformer, I thought it was a pretty well done, and for $5, I think it's a pretty good pickup, especially if you did play Soulstorm and you liked it. Circle back and play New and Tasty as well. I think you guys will get a kick out of that at this price point. Next up, we have the Amnesia Collection, which is 90% off for $2.99 for Plus subscribers. It is $6 for non-Plus subscribers. This includes Amnesia, The Dark Descent, as well as A Machine for Pigs. A Machine for Pigs is not that great. Dark Descent is one of the iconic horror games of all time. It was a game that back in the day, in the early days of YouTube, people were playing this game a lot, and yeah, it got a lot of people, their big break on YouTube. It was just a popular game back in the day, and it still holds up relatively well. I mean, it came out a while ago, but it's still a very good horror game. A Machine for Pigs isn't like atrocious or anything like that, but The Dark Descent put a pretty high bar as far as what Amnesia could be. That A Machine for Pigs was kind of a step back, and even the most recent Amnesia game was not as compelling as The Dark Descent, but for $3 to get both titles, I think, is pretty good. Next up, we have Battle Chasers Nightwar, which is 85% off for $4.49. Now, I haven't played this game as much as some of my friends. Some of my boys have gotten so into this game, especially when it came out back in 2017 on PC. They were just clogging hours and hours into this game. I played it quite a bit when it came out, and it's an RPG that is kind of a throwback to a lot of games. Turn-based combat and a great style that holds up really well. Kind of gives me some vibes of like a Bastion from a art direction standpoint, and that is probably as positive as I can be. Airship Syndicate is also a pretty great studio. They're doing some really good work, and I think Battle Chasers Nightwar at this stage of the game is a game that's forgotten about quite a bit, but if you're a fan of turn-based RPGs, I do think you're going to get a kick out of it for $4.49. That's one of the better deals you're going to come across. Next up, Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun, 90% off for $4.99. I've talked about this game before too, but it is a great tactics-based game that is set in Japan during the Edo period. I know that when you're talking about console games, a lot of people are not super into tactics games. That's something more associated with PC, but give Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun a go. It doesn't have to be the hardest game in the world, and it's got a great setting, great presentation, and the gameplay is done really well. If you're a fan of that Edo period in Japan as well, you're going to feel right at home. The art style is great, and it's one that visually I think is going to hold up for quite a while. For $5, it's a steal. It's a great deal, and highly recommend that. Give it a go, even if you're not the biggest fan of tactics games. Maybe you like the setting, but tactics games aren't your cup of tea. Still give it a whirl, because games like this and XCOM really do win me over at times, and Shadow Tactics Blades of the Shogun was one that really did win me over. Next up, we have The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. That is 80% off for $3.99. This is very much an atmospheric, absorbing, exploration-based, story-driven game. You're getting into this for the story. Light on the gameplay, but from a story standpoint, it is really well done, and a lot of mystery in the game as well. Visually, quite a good looker on top of that. So if you're a fan of games that are very much reliant on story, very much reliant on mystery, this one is gonna be a title that you're gonna enjoy, and it's got some great scenery on top of that, and given the price right now for $4, I think that is a pretty good pickup. Next up, we have Cat Quest, which is 80% off for $2.59. Mentioned Cat Quest 2, but Cat Quest 1 is dirt cheap right now, 80% off for $2.59. Look, Cat Quest is pretty much what the title says. It is a very, very cute and charming action RPG, adventure RPG that, you know, you don't have to take too seriously. You could have, you know, a kid, a younger sibling, whatever the case may be, play the game. This one doesn't have cooperative play, so that should be noted. You'll want to look at Cat Quest II for that, but it's a game that's accessible to all ages, and even if you're older, I think you can have a lot of fun out of it. It's not a game you're going to take incredibly seriously. No, it's not going to have an emotionally moving narrative or anything like that, but if you just want a fun, charming game after your, you know, many playthroughs of a Dark Souls or something like that, I think Cat Quest offers something that's a little bit of a divergence from a lot of other games coming out these days. It's very colorful, and it takes you back to your youth, and sometimes I like that out of a game, and Cat Quest really did offer that. Go check this one out. Go check out Cat Quest II as well. That's on sale on top of that, so check it out. Now on the other complete side of the spectrum, hey, if Cat Quest is too cutesy for you, go check out This War of Mine, The Little Ones. If you want to feel like human garbage, that's what you do. You go play This War of Mine, Little Ones, or you go play 11-Bit Studios' other game in Frostpunk. Those games are dark, those games are somber, those games are the type of games that you want to feel something, you want to feel a little sad. Those are the games you play. And This War of Mine, from a gameplay standpoint, is really great as well. It's just one of those games that, from an emotional standpoint, you know, maybe it's not the most uplifting game in the world, but it is quite a well-designed game, and I really like what 11-Bit Studios goes for. By the way, they're doing Frostpunk 2 right now. That game's gonna be tremendous. That's a game you need to keep on your radar, because Frostpunk 1 was awesome. Frostpunk 2 is gonna be great as well, but This War of Mine, excellent game, especially given that you're getting the base game as well as the DLC for $4 here. That is a great pickup. Go ahead and pick that up. Next up, we have Rogue Legacy, which is 75% off for $4.24. This is one of the more iconic downloadable indie games that you're gonna come across. Rogue Legacy just garnered so much buzz when it came out, and yes, it's a very difficult game, as the title would say, Metroidvania, Roguevania, whatever you want to call it. Very much action-oriented and a very, very challenging game, but very replayable as well. It's a game that you can constantly go back to, and it was one of those games that streamers were all over for a very, very long time. Well-made game. Go check it out for $4.24. You know, I'm always all over the Metroidvanias and the challenging style games that are presented like this. And I'm sure a lot of you guys have played games like this, but Rogue Legacy is one that's done pretty darn well. Next up, we have Magicka II, 75% off for $3.74. Now, this is the type of game that I would highly recommend if you can convince a couple of buddies to pick the game up, or if they can sign up to PlayStation Now, because it's on there as well. You crack open a couple of cold ones, and you have fun on Magicka II, because that is what this game is. It's not a game that, you know, you're just gonna be super serious with. It is all about fun. It's about killing your boys. It's about going through the game and having a great cooperative experience. Magicka 1 was a game that I played way back in the day. I think I was still in high school when Magicka 1 came out, and I had a blast with that game, literally and figuratively, because some of the most funs of people screaming at each other, of my boys screaming at each other when you start killing each other. Well, now Magicka 2 offers a similar experience, and I would definitely recommend checking that out if that sounds like a fun time to you. Next up, another Metroidvania title, Guacamelee Super Turbo Championship Edition. Guacamelee II is on sale as well. That's a very good game, but Guacamelee is one of those 2D Metroidvanias that is very, very colorful. You know, if you're a fan of luchador moves, German suplexes, or whatever, this is a game that you can have quite a bit of fun with, and I'm surprised that it's gotten this cheap, and I'm also surprised that it never garnered a large amount of traction. I know it gained enough traction to justify a sequel, but it's a very fun, action-oriented Metroidvania-style title, and if you're into that, Mexican culture, luchador type stuff, I think that is going to be something right up your alley. I mean, you got your main character Juan wearing a luchador mask right out the gate. That's pretty cool stuff. And a game that, if nothing else, really does embody that fun element. And lastly, I do want to give a shout to Titan Souls, which is 75% off for $3.74. This game often gets compared to a lot of the Souls-like games. It's very much reliant on its boss fights, and those boss fights are relatively difficult and very unique in terms of how you're going to challenge each of them. Art style is very much a throwback pixel graphic art style, but very colorful and well done as well, in my opinion. It's not a perfect game, but if you want something a little bit more challenging and reminiscent of those Souls-like games with, you know, unique ways to tackle every gameplay obstacle, I think Titan Souls is going to be something you enjoy. And for $3.74, it's a great pickup. I wouldn't say for $15, but $3.74, I think it is a solid get. But that's going to wrap up this one. Again, a lot of great deals. This is going to be our conclusion of this coverage. I'm sure that Sony's going to throw out more sales come this Thursday, so yeah, be on the lookout for that. Hey, maybe even Wednesday. We'll see how that turns out. But sound off with all of your thoughts in the comments section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.